my girlfriend cheated on me with my best friend. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now, while I agree with this quote, when you are experiencing an act of betrayal in the form of a breakup or being cheated on, you will completely disagree with that quote. In this video, I'm gonna talk to you about how my girlfriend cheated on me with my best friend. Yeah. So the way this video starts is a little bit controversial, but this girlfriend that I had actually happened to have dated my friend before. The past version of myself, I would have been like, that's off limits, never, how could you? There's always a bro code that you would follow growing up. If your friend had a thing with a girl, she's off limits. Some people differed in this. I had a very clear-cut rule. But here's the catch. Among all the girls that my friend dated, this particular girl had things going for her. She was an author, among other things. She was cute, but not overly revealing. And I told him once, casually, that, you know, among all the girls that you date, that's someone I would date. But I can't because, she's your girl, whatever. And he hit me back with a, go for it. He was a very free-loving guy. He dated multiple girls, and this girl, I guess he dated, and he decided she wasn't the one for him to settle down with. He never really wanted to settle down. That was never his plan. And I scoffed at it, and I said, no. And at this point in my life, I was not even really actively looking to date. I had gotten out of a relationship, and then I did date here and there, but I was trying to focus on my work. And as far as work goes, I was thriving. I had a great mentor, a casting director who agreed to take me under his wing and really help me level up as an actor, figure out what wasn't working in my audition approach, how I can improve my headshots, and all the bells and whistles of how I can be a better actor and increase my odds of succeeding. That was awesome. And actually, my marketing stuff was starting to take off. My side hustle actually led me to make better money and, of course, attract the help of this casting director. We had a little barter system going. Everything was going well. I was in the flow state in many aspects of my life. Now, fitness took a little bit of a step back, a little pause, if you will, but I was going to acting classes. I was playing basketball, so I had some hobbies, casually played poker, and I was learning things about marketing, how to really get better, how to help take the knowledge that I have in search engine optimization and how to get your products and your information out to people. And I started using that to help other people. This is where, at this point, she was just a casual, hello, how are you, kind of a friendship. But in one sitting, we started talking about marketing, and she liked what I had to say. I was giving her some free advice, and I said, hey, you know what? We can meet for coffee and I can give you a breakdown of what I think you should do with your book and with your product. She said, yeah, let's do it. So I go to this coffee shop to meet with her, and strictly platonic. I brought notes. I was like a nerd with that stuff, and I did a full breakdown. This is how I would attack my target audience. This is how I would position myself, all these things. And she was very appreciative. And I think she bought me the coffee in exchange. And that's fair deal. And at some point, I wasn't going to charge her, but nor was I going to continue to do that work for her. I was just trying to build my portfolio of helping people level up in their marketing. It took another sit down to go over everything that I had in mind that would help her business. And then she invited me to a comedy show. She did some comedy. I attended to support. It's like, hey, we're friends, right? And at this point in time, too, my friend who previously dated her was out of town. He was traveling. He was living the dream. And so I met her. I went to her show, and then she offered to give me a ride home. I said, sure. I got the ride home, and then she kind of just lingered. And I was like, I mean, what? I didn't have any plans for her to come in. I wasn't trying to date her or hook up with her. I was strictly trying to keep it professional. She lingered and kind of was like, well, you gonna invite me over? And I said, yeah, sure, come on in. And still to this point, I was attracted to her, but I wasn't into her. I wasn't trying to do anything. But then she started opening up. The sparks were there. We kissed. And I was like, okay, I could get into this. I mean, she's got a good thing going, and she's pretty, and I could learn from her with what she's doing. But then, of course, my friend came to mind. Said, oh, that could be an obstacle. I know he gave me his blessing kind of casually, but I gotta let him know. So sure enough, he's hanging out, comes over one day, and I said, hey, just wanted to let you know, me and so-and-so, we kind of hit it off, and we kissed. And he was taken aback for a second, like, really? And then he goes, couldn't have happened to a better guy. He gave me his blessing. I said, cool, well, I'm gonna pursue her. And he said, cool. And I was like, I didn't think I would, and he's like, hey, awesome. I'm doing this. I'm dating around. I'm loving life. I said, all right. So I had this plan in mind. I was gonna date her, and she was on board. So we dated. We were seeing each other. We were talking marketing. We were talking all kinds of stuff. Comedy. I went to a Christmas party with her, and then nothing seemed strange, nothing out of the ordinary, but I had to go back home to visit my parents. So I'm hanging out with my parents. We were supposed to have a Zoom call. She fell through, so whatever. Then another call, and actually back then it wasn't Zoom, it was Skype. So another Skype call, she kind of fell off. She sounded a little distant. A little radar went off. And then I get picked up from the airport. Uber wasn't really a thing back then, and maybe barely started. And she had this awkward vibe to her. She said, we gotta talk. I said, okay, well, what's going on? Eventually, she spilled the beans. She said that while I was out of town, her and my best friend hooked up. I said, oh, so that's who you went to the movies with. So while I was out of town, she was at the movies. That's why we couldn't Skype. Turns out it was to go with him and another friend. So, no big deal. But turns out he was actively pursuing her after we officially became boyfriend and girlfriend. I think it's one of those things, you want what you can't have. So she proceeded to tell me that she still has feelings for him, and I said, I understand. I don't know if this is gonna work. So I guess when I put some distance there, she still wanted to continue having our thing, and it just didn't sit right. And so I put an ultimatum on the table. I said, hey, look, you're gonna have to make a choice. And she led me on, and one day we're at my place. She's feeling a little nauseous. I'm gonna go home. Said, okay, cool. My radar went off, spider senses were tingling, and I needed to eat anyway, so I left after she left. I'm headed to Jack in the Box. As I said, my diet wasn't good back then. The sourdough Jack, though, is so good. It's such a good sandwich. I might need to try to make a healthier version of that, but I digress. I'm going straight, then I'm supposed to take a left to go to Jack in the Box. She's supposed to take a right to go back to her side of town, but she goes straight. And going straight leads you to my old house that I lived in with my roommates. And that's the house I moved out of. She goes straight, and that's the direction. So instead of me turning left to Jack in the Box, I go straight. I follow her. She gets out of her car after she parks, and I had the window down, and I said, you lied to me. I mouthed something I wasn't proud of, but I showed weakness for sure, because I was like, how could you do this to me? You lied. And of course, he tells her that I was stalking her. I was actively trying to catch her in that lie. Whatever. I heard it from a mutual friend who was a witness. But either way, my heart was crushed. My soul left my body. And when I laid in bed one night thinking about how things played out, I was a wreck. My enthusiasm for work fell off. My diet was already trash, so it got even worse. I started smoking even more weed than I did, and I was actually pretty good about hiding it. But at this point, I just didn't care about anything. But I remember one quote I was told from a previous heartbreak, and it was that my life is not about this moment. Easier to think about now, but in that moment, it was hard. It was hard to get out of it. And luckily, I had a friend who cared about me, who was kind of understood what was going on in the situation, shed some light, gave me some perspective, and he actually nudged me and pushed me to face my fear, get out of my comfort zone, and go to a party where they would both be there. And I have to tell you, that was really hard to witness, where she was having her arms around him, just all very affectionate. And I was there. We were at karaoke. That was tough. That was tough to witness, because I really did love this girl. I fell in love. Didn't see it coming either, so I felt like I got really blindsided by this. And of course, he's just eating it up. And what happened, it turns out that the ultimatum he gave, he said that if she's willing to get back with him, he would stop dating all these other girls, which is like the ultimate prize for a woman, that a guy's gonna change for her. So, of course, once he dangled that carrot, she was all about it. And talking about him not dating other women, okay? That was the ultimate thing for her. So she starts to see him, and I started out being a wreck. I started out being in a really dark place, and I slowly started climbing out of it. I started working out. I started socializing, going out, meeting other people, going to classes, getting better at auditions, and making more friends outside of my bubble of friends, outside of my cocoon of just work and marketing and trying to make a lot of money. I branched out. I kind of got out of my shell, I would say, because I was really dependent on just the direct friendships that I had. So going to class and then going to rehearsals at other people's places and hosting at my apartment. I opted to host people to come rehearse, and that also forced me to keep my place clean, and it got me out of my apartment. So full circle moment happened. Of course, flash forward to present day, they're no longer together. They're not even friends. They've both moved on. And I hear these things because we have some mutual friends, but she had gotten engaged. That engagement broke off, and I wish nothing but the best for both of them. I mended my relationship with my ex-best friend. We are friends, and I did get a random call years later, an apologetic call from her, because she joined a group called RALENO, where other people in your life have addictions and problems and issues, and it helps you overcome your own involvement or your own place in life. And so I got that call of, hey, and my phone rang, I didn't pick up. I was actually on a date at the time. And so I heard the voicemail and I was like, let me face my fear. So I called her, really awkward and uncomfortable, but she apologized, and I accepted the apology. But after really figuring out all the flags that were presented over the course of the months that we were together, it seemed like I was just a tick mark, like, okay, I apologized to him, I did him wrong, I can move on now. And of course, now it's one of those things where it's the type of person that I wouldn't want in my life anyway. In fact, if I ran into her tomorrow, I would wish her well, say hello, but I would not even consider the thought of like having a coffee or hanging out. Those are the kind of people that I don't want in my life. And I became a better judge of character. You can truly suss someone out when they're looking for selfish interests, when they're looking to gain things. And of course, that was evident in the relationships that followed mine. And of course, I also realized, if I want to take that risk of going out with someone, you got to kind of know their history, their dating history. And of course, because she was involved with someone in my life, it made it tougher. If it wasn't my best friend and she cheated on me, it wouldn't have been as hard. And it's a thing that when I look back on, it's hard to say, but I'm glad it happened. I went all in, I gave love a chance, and I also didn't give up on love. Flash forward to today, I found the love of my life, and it's a private situation as far as like my love life goes. In my present life, I keep things private, but there is a happy ending. And so reflecting back on that quote, I agree with it. And I will say though, for those who haven't had the opportunity of letting love in their life due to circumstance, I really hope you do. Because when you do find that true love, it makes some things that are impossible or seemingly impossible seem possible. So I do really wish everybody can experience that. And yeah, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders because I never really gave this perspective of the story from A to Z. It was more just casual throwaway. Yeah, this happened. No big deal or whatever, like I'm over it. But to really like go through the story from A to Z, it's really helped. So I hope you get something out of this. But at the end of the day, thanks for listening, because I got something out of this. So more stories to come about my experiences and how I learned from them. Until next time, peace.